I'm
not
ready.
gonna be here next week.
We can't do it Thursday. That requires a new agenda to go out. You can extend council tonight, tomorrow, if we don't end at 9 o'clock. Otherwise, it requires a new council agenda. The earliest we could meet would be over the weekend, because you got to have 72 hours posting of a notice. So it ain't gonna happen. You know, if we said we're gonna meet Thursday, ain't gonna happen. Okay? And Betty's gonna be gone.
You come with me.
Next week.
And I have to.
Okay? So my view is just work our way through it.
Okay.
I don't know what else to do.
I have to be here only the weekend. That's the first time
Okay.
I'll come back.
Would you guys be willing to meet next week, next Tuesday? I'd have to post another agenda. And just workshop it?
I mean, we can workshop it, but the reality is you're not gonna get more, I guess, current numbers until after July anyways,
My view is-
until the certified values come in. These numbers in here are based on the preliminary values until the certified values come in and we receive the payment from the comptroller on the rest of the stuff. You're really not gonna have good projections for the end of the year.
In my view, the way in which we work our way through that is we'll get the certified values from the BCAD, and I know where that is from a process standpoint because I sit on that. And we'll get the information from the comptroller. We're going to have to make, that's why I go back to this notion, tough to put a budget in place and decide what we want to do on the reserve requirements because we have too many things moving around. So my view, if you want to take a number on the general fund, pick $300,000, go with that, and we'll adjust it as we go forward. Because we're not going to know any more between now and next Tuesday than we know now. We're pretty good at postponing our hard work. So I just plow through it. My view.
I don't
All the time.
It's up to council. to make a motion.
So we could meet on the 23rd and do the line-by-line item.
I don't know why we're not just slugging our way through now.
I'll make a motion to, sorry, to the 2019 budget to Tuesday for a workshop.
Do you want to workshop on the 26th?
I'm not available on the 26th.
I'm sorry, on the 23rd.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Betty, where are you at?
She'll be back by then.
Yeah, I can come back then.
5:30.
5:30 or 4 o'clock. It just depends on how late you want to stay here. Because it's not going to be probably a 2-hour.
We can do 4 o'clock.
There will be a council chambers at 5:30 of any other meetings?
I have a meeting on Monday and I have a meeting on Wednesday.
You do 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock on Tuesday?
4 o'clock.
Tuesday the 23rd.
23rd, 4 o'clock.
Okay, motion's been made to have a workshop on
Tuesday, 23rd at 4 p.m. in City Council chambers.
This is just
There's a second.
information and discussion.
What's
This is just under
Yeah,
information and
so she's
discussion.
making a
Yeah,
motion
it's just
instead of meeting.
information discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second been made, all those in favor, raise your right
Oh,
hand.
and how about some discussion, please?
Oh. Raise your right hand.
What will we know on the 23rd that we do not know now?
Well, I'll make some assumptions on the reserve. And be able to update some end of the year projections as well as update some revenue numbers.
In my opinion, that's not going to materially affect walking through the details of which we have 50 pages to go through, but that's my perspective.
You can start with the CIP, which is at the end if you want. That'll be helpful too, to know what you want me to incorporate into that.
We have no idea because we don't have a strategy. That's the struggle, Jessica, is we're supposed to have had identified challenges and priorities to City Council. That's what you were supposed to deliver to us on May 7th. Have you done that yet?
No.
Okay, so it's difficult for council to go in, since you're the one responsible for running the city, unless we understand the challenges and priorities that you see from effectively running the city. So if we'll have that by the 23rd, or hopefully by the 23rd of July, that would be really helpful. Okay?
And if we could get a copy of the 2018-2019 annual budget before this, so council can look at that and compare it with.
The numbers are in this one already. The numbers are in these spreadsheets. The spreadsheets will have the 2016-17 actual numbers, the 17-18 budget, 17-18-19 budget, and projected budget.
And those numbers are, and there I have validated them. Will we have any sense of goals and objectives for the next fiscal year under which we're talking about allocating $13+ million?
I can have those ready.
Well, that'd be
I've
really
got them
helpful.
from most of the departments.
That'd be really helpful
I
because.
mean, you're looking at last year's budget, that was the finished project, or the finished product, after we did a workshop and there was some direction given to myself and the finance director. I mean, we put this calendar together and right at the top in red, it says all dates of local meetings are subject to progress made during workshop and meetings. The budget policy clearly showed that there was some input that was required from the finance director that was not received. She is not here anymore. This is being done basically by me and me alone. So you can take the basics of a budget, because that budget that you got last year was something you had never done before. And we can continue on that path, but it is going to require a little bit of patience and a little bit of flexibility on council's part. Or we can just approve a budget and forget all of the frills and bows and ties that go with it. In the end, the numbers are what matter.
In the end, the numbers and the actions to be taken to serve the city are what matters. It's not one or the other, it's both.
Well, the numbers are going to reflect your actions.
The numbers are going to reflect actions that
There's
need
no
to be
additional
taken.
personnel, so there's not going to be any change in services to levels.
So and that's part of why I want to get into the discussion. I'll look at utility billing, for example. The non-departmental number goes up some 54%. I already talked about roads. The budget for salaries goes up 67% against where it is this year, 33% from last year. So while you're saying there's no additional budgets or additional people, the only assumption I can make is there's going to be some huge changes in salaries because that's where the lines are. And I'm just looking at the numbers you said. What assumption should I make?
That your salary costs continue to go up every year.
By 67%?
Well, you're going to look at utility billing.
Look at police department. Look at the police department number. Police department number goes up from 771,000 to 843,000. That's 9.3% increase.
And that's generally your increases in merit raises and cost of living that's budgeted in there.
10%. Okay? Then go to streets. Streets goes up 33%.
So their budget does include one additional employee.
Ah, you just said there weren't any additional employees. Okay. We'll look forward to discussion
Yeah, it
next
does
week.
have one.
Yep.
It tells you at the bottom. Sorry.
$100,000 for an employee? I don't think so.
Well, you're,
It's okay. We'll work through it next week.
Discussion?
No more discussion on that.
Okay. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
We're having the meeting
On the 23rd.
on the 23rd at 4 o'clock.
It's,
Your packets will go out on Friday.
4 o'clock.
okay. So let's see those hands again. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. Opposed? Like sign. Okay, motion carries. We'll have a workshop on the 23rd of July at 4 p.m. at council chambers. Okay, E. Councilman Stevens.
Yes.
that was the, I think we're on F.
I believe we're on F, Mayor.
Sir?
I believe we're on F. We just covered E. So F, City Charter 4.02 says there are a number of things the city manager is supposed to do. I'd asked for in this item to get an update on the items which specifically focus on three of them. Gaining advice and consent of the council for appointment of the interim finance director, public utilities director, public works director, and police chief. 2, preparation and submittal of the annual budget. Capital, we've already had that discussion. Someone's got to fix the mic. Good feedback here. And 3, keeping council updated on the financial conditions. Good news there is we've got a report. So we're really talking about a couple items on the top there, and I have one that I will raise. Okay? So, city manager, it's yours.
So if council recalls, at the last meeting, we had some discussion about some potential candidates for public works and public utilities. They are coming in from out of town and requested some allocation of funds for their trip up here. Two of them had already been here once. So there is an action item on the agenda to approve some funds to pay for their mileage and hotel stay to come up here. What you just received are the applications applications and letters of interest for the Public Utilities Director, Public Works Director, Finance Director. The Chief of Police position has not been posted yet. I don't have a final date from the Chief of Police. Also want to add in there that Mr. Meraz will be leaving the city also on August 26th. And so his position will be posted here pretty soon as well. What you just received is basically the application and resumes of those that have submitted. The first one is from Mr. Washburn for Director of Finance. You see his quite extensive resume in working with cities and also being contracted as an interim finance director. I believe he is probably our best candidate for the finance director position with specific experience in municipal government finance, as well as debt service, bond service, and coming from for being a part of SGR's interim pool. He has been regularly assigned to step in to other cities to fill in for finance directors.
It says he relocated to a ranch after retirement, but now wants to come back to work. Have you had any discussion with this gentleman?
I have not directly, just from reading and going through his resume. He's currently with the city of Ridgewood in an interim position. I believe he's looking at just leaving interim positions and taking something back on full-time.
I worry about success rates of holding on to people that come to Alpine and then pack up and leave. Given his track record, he has moved many times.
We did call on his references, and with the previous cities that he's worked in, and they all remarked that he was excellent, and did not have any issues with his employment while he was there or afterwards.
No, I get that. I presume he's excellent. My question is willingness to stay, so that'll be an important question before, in my view, we make a final determination.
Was he the only one that applied?
No, actually, the next applicant is actually a local Alpine person, Maria Salaya. She is presently with Big Bend Family Practice, and so her background is in accounting, finance, and audit, but does not have municipal government finance experience. Plan B, if Maria is interested, would be to see if she would be willing to come in as the utility billing supervisor. That position was left vacant by Melissa Cobos. I think that she would be able to jump in and handle that utility billing structure pretty easily. The next one for Public Works Director is Jose Hernandez. He is coming in from Houston. And has extensive experience with construction administration, working with engineers, preparing RFPs, social services, and things like that. While he does not have any TCEQ licenses, his education would allow him to apply and test for the appropriate B or C licenses to get him started in water and wastewater, and then after a year we'll be eligible to test for the other licenses. Oops, that was Public Works Director, sorry. Scratch that. He said he would take either position. The next one is Lawrence Heinrich, also for Public Works Director. His previous employment was with the city of Castroville, and he was responsible for electric, water, wastewater, gas, streets, parks, utility billing. Has project management, community development experience. His previous employment and others has all been with other cities in utilities and public works departments. He did apply for the Public Works Director because although he has a lot of experience in those, his ability to obtain anything higher than a D license right away would be difficult. He would have to go through an exemption process at TCEQ to apply past years of experience in lieu of education and actual online work. The next one for Public Utilities Director is Lee Huntoon. She's currently a regional manager with the Texas Water Development Board. She's worked with GrantWorks as a community development project manager. She also has a previous employment actually with TCEQ. Somewhere in here, I saw that. In enforcement. So she's familiar with TCEQ guidelines, enforcement actions, and requirements. And again, her education coming in. She's got a Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science in Geography and Resource and Environmental Studies, and a Master in Community and Regional Planning. She would also be eligible to apply for some TCQ licenses right away. And then after a year would potentially be able to test for the required licenses. As we've discussed in the past, we currently have 2 employees that are in the final stages of taking the required training hours to test for these. I believe one of them will actually be testing at the end of this month and the next one next month. And the B license for the wastewater is where we're currently lacking. But once they test, they would fill the requirements of our permit. And so the director position at that point would not necessarily require the B and C licenses. We would be good licensed ones with the backup. So those are the candidates that we have at this point. We're looking at possibly July 26th, bringing them in. Seems to be a date that they would all be able to come in on. That is a Friday.
Are you expecting, this is the first I've heard the date, I'm in Houston that day,
Okay.
so it would have been nice to do a little pre-coordination.
How about the 29th?
29th, I'm here.
If the 29th works well, we can bring them in on the 29th. 26th was the preferred date, but I think they wanted to be here for the weekend.
28th for us.
The 29th? Okay, so you can bring them in on the 29th.
It's a Monday.
That is a Monday.
And what time will that start?
I'm sorry?
What time will that start?
I will get in touch with them and schedule times for them to come in. I imagine with the 4, you'll want to spend, or with the 6, how many do I have? 5. You want to spend some extensive amount of time with them. Do you want to start, I don't know, how early can you all start with them? On a Monday?
Anytime.
I know Lucy works, it's difficult for Lucy at 4 o'clock.
4's fine.
So I'd kind of like to bring them in earlier in the day and kind of take them around, show them the different areas, get them familiar with it, and maybe that would be, I know this was how I approached it the last time, was have them kind of give us their first impressions of the needs of the departments, and I think that worked out well. To get an idea of kind of what they saw right away in viewing the different areas.
So, what time?
And they can start scheduling them at 4 o'clock.
And you already had a preliminary salary discussion with Heinrich?
So, actually, with all of them, Mr. Washburn's asking $96,000. Ms. Salaya's asking $83,000. Mr. Hernandez is $80,000. Mr. Heinrich at $74,000, and Huntoon at $90,000.
Certainly, other than Heinrich, I'm surprised Heinrich's currently making 82 in Castroville.
He actually started out with that and with the plus sign after.
Yeah, well, that's why I say I'm so surprised he's in the 70s.
Most of them are within the range of our department directors.
Our department director's at 83 too, so that's going to be tough if they're all north of that. So the last item I have is we passed a resolution at one of our prior meetings that ties directly to this action item, and that is implementing resolutions and ordinances that the council has passed. Have you shared with the employees the employee grievance policy that we passed as council?
Is that on the agenda?
It is on the agenda, 4.02 under F. delineated in section 4.02. So with emphasis on the following, of not trying to eliminate, and that is item D, or item E, C, that all laws, provisions of this charter, acts of the council, subject to enforcement of the manager and by officers, subject to this direction and supervision, are faithfully executed. I ask again, has the employee grievance policy the council passed been provided to the employees?
No,
Yes.
it
No.
has not.
Okay. and
Did it
is-
pass the last time? I thought it was going back to Mick.
No, I'll remind you, we passed it. There will be an update that Mick would do subsequent to that, but it is a resolution passed for all employees. You have an obligation to share with all employees.
I will do that as soon as possible.
Thank you. I'm done on that information item, Mayor.
Go to G. Councilman Rivas.
Discussion on organizing a special workshop for city council members and interested Alpine residents to consider potential possible changes and/or additions to the monthly meeting agendas that allow Alpine residents opportunity for participating at future council meetings. Can all of you hear me? I'm going to use this so I can save my voice a little bit.
In talking to some of the residents in Ward 2, many people are interested in coming to the city council meetings and share opinions, ideas, and so forth. But for some reason, when they look at the agendas posted, either they don't find it very alluring and want to come and share. And I also noticed that here in the audience, every now and then, an issue comes up, and I see some hands popping up, and people want to talk, people want to share, people want to participate. But for our documentation and restrictions is that people cannot do that when we have the information during the sessions. They can only do that in action items, unless, of course, the issue is presented and so forth. And I find it unusual because also in Ward 2, there are people with tremendous ideas. And I keep saying to folks, hey, bring them to the table, bring them to this democratic forum and let people know what your ideas are. And let's discuss them. And I'll bring them to the table for you, but I want you there also to back up what the idea is about. And they say, well, it's interesting, it's great, but for some reason I don't feel that comfortable. Well, let me give you some ideas of the ideas that people in the board are thinking about for the board. One is we have a beautiful Alpine library over the north of the tracks. We have something of that type as well, or smaller, in Ward 2. How about health and dental service clinic? I'm doing a little work right now with a clinic here in Alpine with the idea of, hey, maybe lure them over and set up a clinic in Ward 2. And there are people that are interested and need that. Economic development plans. Let's look businesses in Ward 2. Before, there used to be quite a few shops, mom and dad shops, where people would come and buy things. You don't find that anymore. In fact, the more people that do business, a hair salon size and a sort of a tire repair shop. People want more development in the area. So economic development. I've heard the mayor here talk many times about bringing an HBO to Alpine. Why not a mini HBO to Ward 2? How about youth, neighborhood beautification program? We help the elderly. We have an aging population in Ward 2. And there are many folks that, and basically female, that just can't, this contract cannot go out and pay someone because they live on your salary to patch up the homes or to clean their front doors. That's something we need to look into. So what I'm recommending is to make maybe the agendas that we follow on a monthly basis a little bit more open, a little bit more flexible, a is to have a meeting between any other interested member of the chamber of the council, myself, and then interested residents who would like to also be part of this committee. And let's look at the agenda and what can we do to make it a bit more alluring, a little more favorable for people to participate. Don't forget, this is a democratic forum, and we're here to basically get people to come together, bring ideas and bring people together, and hopefully we'll have a basis to look toward the future for better things as well. Item H.
So, excuse me, since we're still on discussion. That's what I thought this was. Okay. Are you proposing then a workshop that includes all of council, or are you proposing a workshop just includes you? Because how we handle our procedures is covered by ordinance that all of council has to approve. So hopefully, there will be a workshop that would include all of us.
What I would recommend maybe to start with, and I'm open to suggestions, is maybe one or two council members together, plus people from the residents, to come together and formulate a suggestion or a proposal. We can then be done in a resolution that is presented to council for discussion.
So again, it has to be done by ordinance. The ordinance has to go to first reading, it then has to go to public hearing, and it has to be passed by council. My thought would be, we ought to open it up and have the dialogue. It takes a couple hours, and we work on a couple hours. I would not want to see us get in a situation where a small group puts it together, and then we have the debate all over again in council.
So the suggestion, should I open it up and do it tonight?
I'm sorry?
Do it tonight? Is that the suggestion?
No. I would,
Yeah, future.
in the future, like we just talked about doing the budget workshop next week, I'd pick a date and we can do it as part of a city council meeting prior to the meeting, as we have done in the past, workshops exactly like that.
As an action item.
It doesn't even have to be an action item. I'd make it a workshop agenda where we can have a dialogue with residents, because across all wards, there's perspectives on this subject. I think it's well to have the open forum and dialogue.
Sounds good to me, we'll set a date and time.
I'm sorry?
We set a date and
I
time.
would, you can go work the date and time. I'm trying to line around one all together anyway, but right now we're in the middle of budget cycle. I think we're going to be pretty cramped. But, we got to push that out of it, but I think that'd be the right thing to do.
So we look at maybe next month sometime?
August 1st.
Sounds good?
August 1st.
So next month, I'll come up with a,
Do you want to do it on August 1st prior to the August 6th council meeting? That's on a Friday, on a Thursday.
Thursday.
when is the next one?
The next council meeting is on August 6th.
So let's do August 6th, and keep that date in mind, August 6th.
That would be-
First paid in a,
That's a council meeting, so possibly August 1st for you to have the workshop?
August 1st, guys, is okay?
And the rest of the council meet on August 1st?
Again,
August 1st. Before,
I would say 4 o'clock.
this is just
You got here-
5:30.
Oh, you can't, 5:30 then.
August 1st, 4 o'clock.
5:30.
5:30. Workshop.
Just the workshop.
We're set?
August 1st at 5:30. Back to 8.
Councilman Square, Councilperson.
Mayor,
I guess
We haven't gone over item H.
H. Oh, okay, sorry. Updated review of the progress on action number 3 of resolution 2019-0405 regarding the importance of the truth and good faith in conducting city business. It was presented by Councilman Stevens, and the action item, and you all should have a copy of that as backup in your material. So the action item stipulates that the city attorney is directed to create a formal process for implementation of this resolution or ordinance for review and approval by the city council. And that resolution or ordinance will be included into the city of Alpine handbook, which means that we have to look at the documentation that comes back from the city attorney and then review, discuss, and approve. And once it goes there, then it can become policy. And basically what I'm asking for is an update as to where we are regarding that particular formal process for implementation.
Probably want to talk to the city
Yes,
attorney.
Councilor Stevens.
You probably want to talk to the city attorney. Now, we passed the resolution. It is binding as we have put that in place.
Can I chime in?
Of course.
I don't have an update on that from Mick. I did speak with him about it today, and he said that we could coordinate and get back with you all on that one, and that we'd be able to provide you an update on that soon. I just don't have anything for you tonight, and I apologize for that. I do want to take this opportunity, though, to mention that I'm having a hard time hearing the people that are farthest away from the laptop. I don't know, April, if you can give me a call, we can talk about this offline, but maybe I can have a cell phone line open to my cell phone so I can hear a little bit better.
I can't hear.
Is April still there?
He's right with you. Oh, he's behind you.
I didn't see him there.
He's
I'm
working.
going to mute my microphone now so I can talk to him without disturbing everybody in the room.
That's a good question. Uh-oh. There we go. Thanks. We have feedback loops.
Yes.
Okay, that should help me hear a little bit better. As we get toward the action items, I wanted to hear a little bit more clearly. Is there anything on item H that you'd like me specifically to take back to Nick, or I understand what you need here, and I'm gonna get with him on this and make sure that he has an update for you next time.
We get lots of feedback. If we got a feedback back, we'll go to her computer, then we'll go to the mic.
I've got my phone across the
The resolution number is 2019-0405.
Yes, I have that.
Council, got
Is there
anything
anything else on that item for me?
anything else to add on it?
No, it's
Just wait for him to.
up to the city attorney.
All right, let's go ahead and move to I. Councilmember Escobedo.
Okay, what was?
Break.
So item I is to review with the city manager. With the council, I named the list of when the 2018-2019 employees' evaluations were due, when completed, and the reason for any delays, along with the pay changes that were made in 2018-2019. And I have not received an update from the last one that we got. On the evaluations,
I haven't updated it. It's the same as the last report you received.
So I think my recollection was, at the last meeting, the challenge we had, it was shrunk from 11 by 17 down to 8.5 by 11 to reading. So we got copies. I know I got a copy in my box. I presume the rest of the council did as well. It was the opportunity to go take a look at it. And I think that's what Lucy was looking at. I'll just give you my perspective. When I look at the columns, and thank you for explaining to us what they were, I found that there were some 20-plus employees that were hired in 2017 that had not yet had an annual performance appraisal in 2018 or 19. And I'm happy to provide you the by-name list of those individuals. I also found some cases where there were wage adjustments that I'm aware of that were not reflected on this form as well. So from my perspective, and Lucy will rely on you, how would you like to get that information? Do we need just a separate session? Because it says, about 20% of the employees, according to this sheet, had that performance appraisals done in the last 2 years. So would giving that back to you be helpful?
Well, I have the sheet because I created it.
That's what I thought.
I thought it was going to be included in this agenda packet, but I'm going to guess that there are probably 3 departments that you're looking at, or those employees are all within those 3 departments.
I don't know because it's not indicated. All we got was an alphabetical listing, the ID number, the date of hire, whether they're full-time, part-time, or seasonal, and then the columns that say 90-day wage adjustment, annual COLA license. We didn't get anything else, so we don't know what the departments are.
So I'm going to guess that most of those employees that you see in that are in departments where the managers have not completed their process. We briefly discussed this with the new job descriptions, the managers were supposed to present with the HR department their task list and where they fell in with the new job descriptions. We have some managers that have not done that. An example is the finance department. And so I've been working with them last week to try to figure out where they fall in with theirs so that they can receive their evaluations. I know that the gas department manager has been provided all the job descriptions as well as examples of what needs to be completed to get those evaluations processed. And the police department. And the police department's working on them. I think they've got most of their people done. Other than that, those are probably where you're seeing that difference in there.
So I would point to a name, one who reports to you, at least according to the spreadsheet, that's all we have to go on. Ellen Melvin, if I go down, hired in 2017, according to this, it says her last appraisal was in 2017. So that's why I think it's probably worthwhile to go through, because either I don't understand it, because this says she was given a wage adjustment in October of 2018, but it doesn't, there's no corresponding annual performance appraisal that goes along with that.
So I will have to go back again. We don't have any automated way to keep track of them. So it was going through each of their folders. That was done in 17. I don't know, Ellen's here. Didn't we do an evaluation for you?
Megan did my evaluation in 2017 in January, or in December.
In December?
Yes.
So you were due one this past December? We didn't do one?
Yeah, and just so
We'll
what
have to
this
go back and
says,
check.
yeah, the paperwork says, that you provided to us, says it was done on September 30th, 2017. So it's probably worthwhile to have someone go through and
And double check it.
look at this, because I think it's more than just the departments that you talked about. And there are numerous 90-day missing for employees that have come on board in 2018 and 2019, where their 90 days have not been done. So I just offer that, probably need some update, probably want to put on the next, sit back.
Okay.
So I wanted like where, I mean, I had to draw lines and stuff, so you could just leave it like in a.
You want the
Excel
grids?
sheet.
That'd be
Yeah.
helpful.
Okay.
Also, so when, and I'm just, whoever the department head is, when they do the evaluations on the employees and they do the recommendations, are they not, what's happening after that?
Sorry, are they not what?
What's happening after
Like,
the
what happens after that? Like when whoever is the head of that department and they, they've done the evaluations and they recommend whatever.
So prior to the HR coordinator, she was sending out emails probably 30 days in advance of when evaluations were due, as well as any documentation that was missing. I myself, as well as the HR coordinator, have reached out to different managers that were missing certain information in their files, and trying to get all of that stuff put together. And of course, if they don't respond and they don't reply, she was following up, I was following up to try to get them to stay on track with them. And we just haven't received all the information with some of those departments. Now, since her departure, I can tell you that it has been difficult to keep up with them, because again, it's not automated. So one of the good things out of your request is that we now have it kind of on a spreadsheet. It makes it a little bit easier to keep track of at that point. But it's something that we're working towards. The interim HR coordinator and I have been working on trying to get positions filled. So hopefully here within the next month or so, we'll get everybody back on track.
So then after they do the recommendations, then it goes to whoever the finance director is or what?
No, they usually come through me for review, and then I approve them if they're requesting a pay increase. And then that goes to the finance department.
So the department head doesn't request the increase?
They do, but it comes to me for approval, and then it goes to finance to implement with the payroll. And then the documentation is supposed to go back into the employee file. So there may be pay increases that you might see on there, but for whatever reason, the paperwork didn't get back into the file.
Okay, so then I'll wait on.
Yeah, it is. One of our CIP requests is an integrated software for employee management that will keep kind of track of all of that, as well as send out reminders and things like that. But we'll see what happens this budget.
That's it. Anybody else? Okay, let's move on to item 8. Action items to be accompanied by a brief statement of facts, including reports of the governor, applicable. Action items that will up to 10 per meeting. Citizens are allowed to comment, limited to 3 minutes after being called upon by the mayor or mayor pro. 10, citizens are required to state their name and report in which they reside. Priority will be given to the citizens of Alpine who post their own business or property in the city. Individuals who do not live in or own business or property in the city of Alpine will be allowed to speak if there's time available. City manager.
Mayor, the first item is discuss, consider, and take action to approve resolution 2019-10 regarding the collaborative improvement efforts for 2019 between the City of Alpine and Alpine Country Club to accompany the 2016 lease.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I propose we approve Resolution 2019-07-10 regarding the collaborative improvement efforts for 2019 between the City of Alpine and the Alpine Country Club to accompany the 2016 lease.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and second. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
I'd just like to comment that, and consistent with the resolution brought forward and consistent with the lease that council approved in 2016, Country Club's an important part of what goes on in this community. We approved the exact same resolution last year. The Country Club's done a fine job. In fact, it's busier than I think I've ever seen it. Where I live, I get to see a lot of what goes on. So, compliments to what the board's been doing on the
Mayor, I believe we have Mr. Bodas here from the board.
Okay. Yes, sir. Step up to the mic. State your name and the board where you reside.
You can reside in the city. Just hands up.
My name is Joe Torres, and I'm president of Alpine Country Club. I live outside the city limits. I live in precinct 1. But I have businesses, I have residents, I have business in precinct 5. I have properties around the city of Alpine. But my primary residence is outside the city limits. But I am president of the Country Club, and the Country Club is a vital part of Alpine, Texas. Big vital part. We bring in a lot of people to Alpine. We have about 12 tournaments a year. Mostly our funds are generated by our members. We lease the grounds for the golf course. We provide everything. We get little help from the city as far as water. But we get no monetary help from the city or the county. It's from we generate the revenue we generate at the Country Club. I appreciate what the city does for us. They give us some water. We pay for the water. But part of the Country Club belongs to the city. Part belongs to the members of the Alpine Country Club. I would like to maybe, I know you all approved that, I know they haven't changed it. I just became president of the club, I've inherited the position, and we have a lot of issues there. Our membership has gone down, not because the country club is so good, it's gone down because people move out of town. We had a old patrolman that were members. Their kids are not playing Little League, baseball, softball, soccer. So now they're chasing their kids all over, the tournaments and whatever. So our membership has gone down. And we're still striving to take care of our park. It's very tough. We buy all the equipment. Our green board just went out. We're looking at green corn. There's 90 greens that we maintain and putting green. The cheapest mower we can get right now costs $35,000. $35,000. We don't have it. We can buy it on payments, but kind of hard to add that to our budget, you know. So we get that coming, and see, it takes a lot to run golf course. Coconut Park is right next to the golf course. We get a food and water from the city. Sometimes the pumps are broke, sometimes for other health reasons we can't get water. So we have to do our water sometimes. Half of the golf course is water, is city water that we pay for. City gives us some and we pay for it. And we pay for the pump that generates the water for the city well at number 8, on the corner of Brown and Alpine Buck area. I know they asking for maybe a little bit of help from the city to help us a little bit more. We actually, coming from the city mayor, we do a great job up there taking care of what we do. Some of us members put a lot of our own money into a club so that we have something to provide for the city. And the city, the country club is open to everybody. Everybody can go and play. We have a clubhouse. We sell in the streets and beverages. And that's how we generate some of our income. But it's open to everybody. It's not an exclusive country club. At one time, everybody, at one time it was. We changed that. We want the community to go out there. And basically, it is for the community. So, that's what I said. I would like to maybe have the city, they would generously extend some funds so that we can put back into the club. Yes, sir.
So Magoo, one of the items in the lease, and I know you're the new guy on board, it's trying to make it go, but each January, one of the obligations that the country club has is to come back to council, provide an update, particularly with regard to capital improvement plans, give us kind of some rundown. You might put that on your list to come back to council to help us get some understanding about where you're at, where your budget is, so we're much more informed, so we can have a meaningful discussion on that.
I will do that.
Yeah.
I will bring back the figures. Like I said, I just became president up there, dealing with a bunch of stuff. We're doing good. We're doing okay. We're not broke. As I hear a lot of talk around town. We're not broke. We just had our annual meeting, and we had to cancel the meeting. We didn't have a forum. Yes, sir.
I have a question. If you don't drink or play golf, what does the country club offer you?
You don't drink or play golf?
I don't drink or play golf, so what does the country club have to offer me?
Maybe you can start drinking and playing golf.
That's not a good answer.
Well, I mean, it's not there for everybody. If you don't play golf, you don't drink.
But you're saying the public is invited.
Yeah, it is.
But if you don't drink or play golf, what
You
reason do I have to
can
go?
go walk around there. You can go get in a golf cart and ride around. Enjoy. It's a beautiful place.
Okay.
It's a beautiful place. You don't necessarily have to go drink or play.
Well, I'm not gonna drink, so that's the point.
But,
I'm just, that's the two things you listed.
Yeah, but it's open for everybody. What I'm trying to say, it's open for the community.
Thank
It's
you.
open for anybody that would like to play golf or maybe go have a drink after work, it's there. It's for everybody. It's
Thank
not-
you, Mary Marlene. Joe, what's the status of your swimming pool and the restaurant? Are you all still serving food and?
No, we don't serve food at the restaurant per se, because we don't have a kitchen that is certified. What we do on tournaments, we cater, like this tournament we had, the Century Club cater. So that's how we provide food for our tournaments. We have to pay a caterer to come in and provide food.
Were you able to open your pool? Were you able to open your pool
Our pool is going to be open this weekend.
this weekend?
I was working on the pool, and unfortunately, I spent some time at the hospital. So I stopped working on there. But it will be open next week. I'm working on it right now. It'll be open for we're having a tournament this weekend, and a lot of people have come in, bring their kids, so it'll be open this weekend.
Yeah, Mary. I met with Joe and Renee and Brady. Actually twice this year before we put this together. And I think there are a lot of ideas that they have and that we came up with on how to improve use and membership. But like so many other organizations in Alpine, they're lacking volunteers. They're lacking volunteers to serve on their board. They're lacking volunteers to work during the hours that they're open. One of the things we talked about was maybe a golf club donation program so that when people come in, they don't necessarily have to have their own clubs. They could borrow the clubs from there. But again, having the volunteers to organize that and put that together, doing programs with the youth to build up their interest, again, requires more volunteers. So again, if you're here in the public and you're looking for a place to volunteer, the country club is always taking volunteers also. And you don't have to drink or play golf to volunteer.
Mr. Lewis.
Mr. Gomez, how much, in order to be able to play golf there, you have to be a member, right?
No.
No?
Go.
As you said, it's open to the public.
Open.
Oh, but I thought you would have to be a member. No? You don't charge anything?
Green fees.
Okay,
You charge free
fees.
fees.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
You pay free fees, you want to rent a car, we have cars for rent. You're more than happy to walk, you're welcome to walk, and that's what you want to do for exercise.
But then somebody wants to,
They pay at the club out here.
they're the pool.
$10,
Mrs. Torres.
Country Club is allowed to Alpine, it does bring some revenues. We discussed that at the Highway 67 meeting, where there's no signage for golf course. And so that's going to be one of the items on the agenda, is the sign to show what the golf course is at.
Would the city do that, or?
No, that was for Texas, because it's on the Texas roads. So it was part of that meeting, and it was discussed that we need the signs to show where it's at. So it's one of the items that we could probably go ahead and handle pretty soon.
We're working on trying, right now we're working on trying to establish a brochure to give to the Chamber of Commerce.
And on the visitors and also.
And we have to show them so that they can give out to the people stop to inquire. We do have a lot. We go to the trade parks, the RV parks, and we have flyers out there, and we give them a discount, and they will come out to play. And we invite everybody, you know, and a lot of people didn't know that we are not home golf. We do need someone at the time. We are actually, we are on a very limited basis. most of the money that we get are from our participating members. And we do get little revenue from people that come and play and rent those cars and things. And we have several that come after work and have a drink or two.
Because a lot of people didn't know that it was open to the public. You know, I'm glad you made that mention. So it comes from private.
It's open to everybody.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
I will thank you all and thank you very much for working with us. And I know we're committed to that for the city of Mount Pine. I've been associated with that country club since I was a little boy. And so far, you know, it's like everything else. There's good days, bad days. And you know what? We've been able to survive and keep that place attractive for people to come in. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Okay, see none. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Opposed, one sign, motion carries. Thank you all very much. Item 2, city manager.
And this item is discuss, consider, and take action to approve the chart of accounts for fiscal year 2020.
So I'll make the motion to approve the chart of accounts for fiscal year 2020. I do have some discussion, but I'll make the motion.
Okay, so a second. Okay, motion been made second. Okay, Stevens.
Okay, thank you. So there are 39 pages of the chart of accounts. Some of mine are general in nature, some of them are very specific. I correlated the chart of accounts against the draft budget, or preliminary budget. I found a number of cases where there was no line item for the budget. So, for example, under administration or non-departmental expenses, it shows, and you talked about it earlier, CIP software. I didn't see any CIP software in the budget, so I was just surprised that that was a new account, but there was no money against it. So that's an example, and I found a number of those cases, and we don't need to go through them here, but I'm happy to give you that feedback, but they're all highlighted in yellow that were added, and I just did some correlation.
Yeah, again, there were line items that were added either because there's anticipated expenses to go in those line items. The contract labor was one that I asked to be put in all the departments.
I gathered that.
Just because there wasn't one before, and so people were being contracted and then they were just kind of being melded into
That makes
something
sense.
else.
Yep, I get that.
But at this point, like the CIP was added in on the departments, anticipating that there will be some expense added in.
Okay, I was just surprised I didn't see it in the budget. The next is under city council, under 62-1501, travel. We council had agreed that each council member was allocated the $4,000 per year, and all the travel seemed to get lumped into 1501. I would expect that, consistent with the council wishes, that will get divided back out against each of the mayor and the council members. So I have no problem leaving that in the chart of accounts, but the current budget allocation you have has it aggregated in one element. And going back as a reminder for everyone, we all come up for election. It would be totally unfair for someone to spend all of the money prior to a new council member coming on board and there's no money left. So we actually have a resolution that says you're able to spend up to 5/9 of your last year, so that money's there. The only way we can track it is break it out individually. So if you do that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, so the line items that you see here, that was a change that was made last year.
Yep.
There's a separate spreadsheet that the finance department keeps track of as far as who's traveling where with those different amounts.
But we council have no insight into it. The whole purpose behind it was so we council could track it. And if you look at the details on the budget, you'll find it's not very descriptive in terms of how that works. So
do you want to add line items?
they already exist.
Well, that discretionary fund is not travel and training. That's an actual discretionary fund. For example, if you're paying expenses for a town hall, or doing something not anticipated. So those line items are kind of minimal. I think they're set at 1,000.
1,000, yeah.
And then, I mean, we can do 6 line items of training and 6 line items of travel.
Yep.
If that's what you'd like to see.
Yes, please, that's what council agreed to. So if we do the accounting, that'd be great. Let's see, continuing down, and you've already addressed the contract labor one. I think that's a good strategy there. For the rest of the council members, I'm sure you enjoyed going through all of this. Radio communications equipment, the police department, employee testing, hepatitis shots. Just, I'm amazed at informant money. I'm not going to go there. We just have a line item for it.
It's not used on a regular basis?
I know. I wouldn't expect it would be. I just thought I would call that out. Pest control was an interesting one.
Yes.
Under building maintenance expenses, I can certainly see why I would do that. I just didn't see a budget for it in the preliminary budget.
No, pest control is something we'll probably have to put an RFP together.
Okay?
And put that out so we have an actual contract number that'll go in there.
Okay, and on the last page, and this is under the Parks Department, there were 2 items added. One is capital improvement for fencing and capital improvement for storage facility. I presume we'll get into that when we have a discussion about oops, I got more here, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So those 2 items, again, those are part of the Parks wish list.
Yep. Okay. Non-sufficient return checks was an interesting one. And uniform, so utility building expenses, this is under 6504-651-0510. Is that where we charge uniforms? I thought it would have been under account number 654, not 651. You can go work it. There was not a line item there from a budget standpoint.
Oh, that's actual uniforms for the utility billing clerks.
They have uniforms?
We occasionally purchase them shirts with the city seal.
With the logo. Okay, that's a good idea. Okay. I knew the rest of the utilities folks. I was just surprised at that one. And there are other CIP items, but I think that's my list. So thank you. No, so you answered my questions. I have no further questions.
I do agree with you on the breakdown of our expenses for the city council. I always believe in that. Council cut. Doesn't be surprised last year when I went in and I asked the former finance director, what's our balance? And she said, so we don't have an expense. That's all I did.
Yep. So that makes sense. Yep. Okay.
Okay, so motion been made and seconded in discussion. All those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thanks, sir.
Item 3, city manager.
Item 3 is discuss, consider, and take action to authorize reimbursement of travel expenses for candidates to appear for interview with council. So I originally had 2,400 in there, but I did not anticipate the other 2 that had already been here. So that actually probably needs to go up.
I did the math. It's 5,400. That's what I did. So Mayor, I propose that we authorize reimbursement of travel expenses to candidates for those who are going to appear for the interview on council on whatever date we agree in the amount of $5,400.
Okay. Is there a second? Motion made second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Item 4, city manager.
This is Mr. Olivas' item.
Oh, is it?
I can read it though.
city manager to present the city of Alpine on all matters concerning city government, local media, and city residents.
Is there a second? See no second, motion dies. We move to item 5.
Item there, I move that we take action to appoint Councilor Curry as liaison between the city of Alpine and Brewster County.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made, second. Any discussion?
Yes. Maria, are you up for the task? Good. Thank you, just want to make sure.
That's it. Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Huh? Yeah. All those in favor, raise your right hand. And opposed, like sign, motion carries. And the next one is Council Member Escobedo.
Make a motion to consider and take appropriate action relative to the resolution 2019-07-12 to change the city attorney.
Okay. Motion been made. There's a second.
You'll second the motion?
Okay. Motion been second. Any discussion?
I've had a lot of citizens ask me that they would like to see the attorney here in person. There's a lot of problems that we're having, like, when we get a hold of them. I know that when I was in planning and zoning, we weren't able to, we had an at the time that.
And I'd make one other observation, and I think there was wisdom in the timing for this relative to later this week. As you recall, the current city attorney is the one that provides us the city prosecutor for the municipal court. And I have received lots of comments that the prosecutor calls it in, even though we paid for travel and all the other elements associated with that. And there's a lot of feedback from citizens that says, hold it, the prosecutor's not even showing up. And so I think that's just another reason, it's someone local that makes sense to go to.
Do we have an idea about local attorney?
I think there's a number of them around. I think taking this action is probably the first step, and I suspect we'll have this discussion at our next city council meeting on August 6th.
Yes, sir.
Coles, Ward 5. When this was brought up, because apparently this law firm has been received for several years now, and really show for the record that back in 2015, and I can provide you all a copy of this. McCamey and this law firm, I had requested a bid for an FBO proposal for it was submitted for the airport for a previous city manager, and it was never brought up. The city turned around and questioned it, and they sent it to the McCamey law firm, and the McCamey law firm just threw it aside. The Attorney General, which I have the letter here, gave a legal opinion, which they were very wrong in releasing that bid that I needed to see. But what I'm seeing now from 2015 to the meeting last week is improprieties that exist. I've noticed that some of the things in this meeting that were not following in line with government rules of order and city charter violations as well. And what I see right now is even an issue that I raised concerning Native American sites and Antiquities Code, and quickly I was called to a point of order. It had to do with the agenda, and the attorney didn't say nothing. But bringing it closer to home, votes were taken that were improper. There was administrative action, power that was being taken, and the charter clearly states that the mayor has no administrative power. There were two areas that were very evidence. We can get through here and point out nothing. And these improprieties still exist and have existed for several years. So I today have to say, see, he's not even here. You know, we have his legal assistant on the screen there, and the situations are piling up. So to make it a long story short, the decisions that were made last week are highly political, but not a legal opinion. So this law firm, their contract needs to be terminated. Thank you.
Okay, I've got something that I found, and related to Lyconian. Okay? In 2005, May 3rd, the city council hired an attorney to interpret our charter. Okay? And in it he stated that the mayor could vote. And I've got copies here. And this was in 2005, Mickey Mouse was the city mayor. So it was passed by the city council. Yes, sir. Got it.
Dave Weimer's Ward 5. It's about time we have brought this up. We do need a city attorney. There's ample attorneys in this community very qualified to do this job. And not many of them talk to. Some of the ones that were here before, because the city manager left, that's on the bridge under the water. It's time, I agree with you guys, get a new city council, or city attorney here.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Angela Lewis, Ward 1. I'm glad that Lucy brought this up. There's been, even when I was a councilman, when we first got a hold of McCain, that he kept saying he charges too much. That's too much, and all I do is him on TV. And another thing is that the money that we're paying him lives Alpine to go elsewhere. And then, if we had a local attorney doing this, most of the money would stay here in Alpine for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Any more discussion? Yes, sir, John.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is John Waters. I'm a resident of Alpine, and I'm also the publisher of the Big Magazine. Mayor, you just read a legal opinion from, was it 2005?
2005, yes, sir.
Let me read, and I sent all of you this transcript that I'm going to read to you. And Mayor, this is from when we had a conversation last Thursday. And in that conversation, we discussed your vote. I'm not here to pass judgment on retaining or dismissing the city attorneys. That's up to you folks. But what you told me, what I am here to do is try to ascertain what the correct current legal interpretation from your attorneys is. Because last Thursday, you told me, quote, this morning I was talking to Mick, our city attorney. I'm a little confused on this. And he says, well, Mayor, it takes the majority of 6 on the council and you really can't vote on it. But it does make a difference because they didn't have 4 votes. So I was corrected on that matter. I asked you, I said, is Mick saying we should not vote it? Your reply. He says your vote only goes when it's a matter of a tiebreaker, or if you have less than 5 in the council, then you can vote. I was under the understanding that when it came to 3 city manager, and I was under the understanding that when it came to the city manager, I was a vote okay, but he's saying no. You really shouldn't vote, but the motion died because it was 3 against 2 and we needed 4. I know it's a bit confusing, but that's why I made the call, because I wanted to see, to make sure if it comes up again, I'm doing the right thing. So for now, we got the correct verbiage, and that you don't vote on it, but they had to have 4 votes, period.
I can give you a copy of some.
But that's what you said Thursday, so.
Well, yeah, I just got this release.
For clarification, yes, so for clarification, your current legal counsel told you several days ago that you can't vote.
Right, correct. And I did some research on it, and
And so now, and maybe your attorneys, before you fire them, or both fire them, can rule on whether or not this, what you told me is valid, or this interpretation from 2005.
because
And also, just finally, in 2013, there was a vote to terminate the then city manager. When that item came up, and this is in the official minutes, city minutes, when that item came up, the then city mayor, Mayor Rumra, asked for legal interpretation. He said, you can't vote. The mayor, and this is all in the minutes, the mayor said, well, why not? And the attorney said, you asked for my vote, you asked for my opinion, and I gave it to you. You can't vote. The mayor then said, on the basis of that interpretation, we're going to take a vote, and the vote was to terminate. And actually, former council member Angie Bermudez voted on that. And the vote went, it was 3-2, and the city manager was terminated. So respectfully, can you ask your attorneys right now whether or not what you told me is the correct interpretation? Or should they, and council had said something from 2005?
yeah,
So will you do that right now?
right.
I'm asking you to ask your attorneys for legal interpretation.